Welcome to the Van Conant Sessions, where our opinions may vary, but our God-given rights are forever merged into liberty and justice for all.
I feel the light shine through the window. I hear the wind blow through the trees.
And I went to hit stop record. I'm like, I didn't even record it, man.
Isn't that the worst?
Oh my gosh, that was a great interview too.
Like, man, that went great. And where is it?
Right. So we are recording, man, and I appreciate your time once again.
Yeah, no worries.
We can just kind of start out and go through the same thing we did because Rich and I already had the intro recorded, but we were having our troubles, and that's when we started over and I didn't hit record because you were having troubles on your end and whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll just go through the whole spiel again, and hopefully we can cover everything we already covered. Maybe tomorrow Rich and I can do the tail end on it again.
Okay, gotcha.
Listen, man, anyways, Dusty, I want to thank you again for your service. We tried this once before. We forgot to, somebody forgot to hit record. We were having technical difficulties. And anyways, so.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I have the utmost respect for our service members. So I'll let you introduce yourself to the audience. I know we already went through this, but.
So I am Dusty. I'm Blueyes Below. That's my social media channel. And I'm essentially a Great Lakes shipwreck hunter, diver, explorer, jack of all trades. I do a lot. I did spend 7 years in the military, and I actually went in to be a diver. But turns out it's like super hard special forces stuff. They have a 90% dropout rate. So I didn't make it to be a diver in the military, but I did work on tracked vehicles and as a mechanic and stuff for about 7 years. So I've always been a diver. I got certified when I was 13 years old from my parents, like as a Christmas gift, because I've always been like exploring in the creeks behind the house, snorkeling. So they got me certified, and I had dove, got certified, and that kind of led me to, well, I want to dive in the Army, and they had a diver program, but they didn't really specify that it was 90% dropout rate. They want you to quit, which isn't a good position to be in.
That's got to be tough.
It is. So I mean, these days I'm an electrical lineman by trade, but I'm also a content creator. Pretty much that's what I do. That's what I love to do. I'm people's eyes below the surface for these shipwrecks that they may never get to. Yeah, that sums up who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love your content, man. It's very intriguing. The shipwreck stuff is fascinating, obviously, and you get to see it from a perspective most people will never be able to see, and I appreciate
the size difference is astounding. When you're at the bow of a shipwreck, just a tiny little diver in front of this 300-foot, 500-foot ship. I mean, you're insignificant in comparison to the size of these ships. They are built so big and stout, and you don't get that from photos, really, unless you have a diver in the photo too.
Right.
But being face to face with the beast is a whole nother animal, and it's a pretty cool experience. I try to capture that and bring it to people. It just isn't the same as being down there.
You do a great job, and I think actually that we were, and what should have been recorded already, that schooner that you were talking about, the plates being intact and stuff. Now I think I did actually see that. The plates were stacked in the cupboards or whatever, and there's bunks, and I think I actually seen that, but I'm gonna go back and check it out when I get time.
So that's the wreck of the W.C. Kimball. That's in the Manitou Passage area. It's about 300 feet deep, and the location still kept secret. And that's one of them that had been found. The wreck was so good that Ross Richardson, who found it, he decided to keep it secret, kind of to protect it. They did the news story on it. They put a diver on it, and they got some photos and stuff. I wasn't satisfied with that. I thought I could do it more justice with how I film. So I made it my goal to go find it, and I actually found it within 2 hours. Just being a bit of a sleuth, it just takes time. We were my mentor, who's 76 now. Him and I were out in March on an open 18-foot open center console boat, and we found it and filmed it. And I ended up diving it a couple years later. But I got interior photos of it, and that's what you were talking about with the plates neatly stacked in the rack. There's a wood stove in the corner, the bunks, like just an incredible wreck that sank in 1891, and it's still that intact with the masts upright and everything.
That's amazing. So I had some questions for you. We can go over again, and I so appreciate your time, Dustin. So what's the deepest you've ever dived?
So there's a shipwreck out of Muskegon, Michigan, here where I live, and that's another one that I had to go and rediscover because the location was kept secret. That is the John V. Moran, which is basically a huge wooden steamship package and people ferry, or it was a package ship, but it also had passenger accommodations. Okay. That one had been found by another group, and they had kept the location secret. Once I saw it, it was just so incredible. It looked like the ship was sitting at a dock. There's glass in the windows. All the railings are there. All the cabins are there. And I'd never seen anything like it. Wow. Because as a young diver, you don't just get to go to the Edmund Fitzgerald. Right. You're like diving 30 feet deep on broken shipwrecks that you can't even tell what you're looking at. It's just piles of boards. So once I rediscovered this wreck, the John V. Moran, I had kind of made it a goal to myself. Man, I'd like to see that. But in reality, that was so far past my skill level that I didn't know if I would ever actually get to do it, or if it was one of those things I would talk about my entire life and never actually do it. So my dive partner is Ray Wilson from Peoria, Illinois. He joined me, and we dove together for a couple years regularly, and I got certified to dive deeper. He was already at that level, and I kind of caught up to him. And really, he was my experience. Even though I'm older than him, he was a better diver than me, and he kind of mentored me and safely got me to where I needed to be. And him and I went out and dove almost 400 feet deep. So it sits around 370. Wow. So that's the deepest I've gone. It was a big deal. I was very nervous about it. It's one of these things that it becomes such a big thing in your head, because it's like right. The holy grail to me is reaching the ship, and it's pitch black, it's cold, it's 39 to 42 degrees, and I mean, you have 300 and some feet of water between you and safety.
Sure, yeah, that's crazy.
And you're just falling down through the water column, following this rope, basically an anchor, for minutes. 5 minutes, you're just falling into the abyss.
Wow, that would be definitely fear. And of course, that was probably your first dive that deep, right?
We had worked up with like the W.C. Kimball, the schooner with the plates. We had done that one prior. But prior to that one, we had done a couple other ones that were incrementally, we worked our way up to the depth.
To the high, deeper.
Yeah, just because things can happen and you want to make sure you know your gear, you know exactly how to run the things without looking, and that everything's properly maintained. So it's not just a quick thing, you have to work up to it. And that's what we did. And so on the day we went out on the Moran, my 75-year-old mentor was out there driving the boat. He managed it, and Ray and I just went business as usual, and we knocked it out.
Very cool.
So,
So speaking of the deep, diving deep, tell us about the bends.
so the bends is something that comes with diving deep. When you breathe compressed air or compressed gas at depth, such as our oxygen mix here, there's 21% oxygen at the surface, 79% nitrogen. Your body takes that nitrogen into your tissues, and it dissolves throughout your body. It goes through your lungs, through your bloodstream, gets deposited into the tissues. So to an extent, if you had an issue, you can come to the surface. Say like a sport diver who's diving 60 feet deep or 100 feet deep. Not that big a deal. That's called non-decompression diving.
Okay.
Which means at any point, theoretically, you should be able to come up from whatever depth you're at, 60, 70, 80, 100 feet, to the surface in a controlled fashion without getting the bends.
So is 100 feet the deepest you can do that without?
No, I mean, you could go to 200 feet.
Okay.
It's a time and depth calculation. I mean, you'd be at 200 feet for a minute, and then maybe you got to work your way back up. Where if you're at 100 feet, you might have 15 minutes before you'd. So the deeper you go, the longer you stay there, the more nitrogen you get into your system.
Gotcha.
So, because every 33 feet is another atmosphere of pressure.
Okay.
So when you're down, you're under multiple atmospheres of pressure, you on gas faster.
Right. So obviously 400 feet, you're at what, 12, 13 atmospheres of pressure. That's crazy.
Yeah. And so that's where we get into the technical diving with the rebreather. We mix our own gases to we're trying to take advantage of the rebreather, because that's kind of like a gas mixing machine computer that's on your back, that's always giving you the best mix for whatever depth you're at. So for example, the Moran that we dove 370 feet, I used a 9% oxygen, 8 or 9, and 70% helium, I believe. The helium is what's trying to replace that nitrogen. So our regular air is 21% oxygen, 79% nitrogen. We're altering that. Now that 8 or 9% oxygen will absolutely kill you if you breathe it on the surface. Once you're under pressure, that atmosphere, you're breathing the partial pressure of these gases rather than the percentage. It's very scientific. It's above me. I understand it enough to stay safe.
Right.
You want to get rid of that nitrogen because you don't want to be in the water forever decompressing, trying to get the nitrogen out of you. So you replace it with a gas that's non-narcotic. That's also the other thing about nitrogen. It becomes narcotic, like you're drunk at depth.
Oh, okay.
And then you make bad choices. Or a simple thing like getting caught in a fishing line, if you're not clear-headed,
right,
it could kill you because
it makes bad choices because you don't.
you don't have the mental clarity to get yourself out of that. Or if your regulator was free-flowing, maybe you couldn't get to your other one because your judgment's clouded. So putting helium in there, it's a non-narcotic gas. It gives you a clear head. Even at hundreds of feet deep, you can make solid choices.
Okay. So I've seen, watching shows through the History Channel and stuff throughout my life. I've always been intrigued by that type of stuff, Discovery and whatever. I've seen, video footage of these guys that do deep dives for whatever purpose, where they come up and they'll be in in the decompression chamber, and they're all talking funny because they're breathing helium.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So when we're on the rebreather, say we're at the bottom, the shipwreck, 400 feet, I can kind of communicate like with Ray. I'll be like, "You okay?" And our voice is extremely high because of the high helium
Because of
content.
the okay.
And you'll hear, "Okay." So
That's
it's pretty funny.
That's funny. So tell us, in your eyes, the audience, what's the coolest or one of the coolest shipwrecks you've ever visited, and some details about it.
I would say the Moran, the deep one that I spent 3 years getting to, that was probably my Mount Everest. It was the challenge of finding it first, because I came into this as a nobody. Nobody knew me. I didn't know anybody. I was just a young kid with enthusiasm. I wanted to go out and find a shipwreck. And the thing is, I did. And then I filmed it, which is kind of a big deal at that depth. I filmed it with an ROV, and that introduced me to the community. It was kind of like a shockwave. They're like, who the hell is this kid? Because that's kind of unheard of.
Right. How many years ago was that, Dusty?
Maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe.
So about 7, 8 years ago or so, in that time frame, you've turned this into the Blue Eyes.
Yeah, I got serious about the exploration and the filming and bringing it to people. I think that is probably the coolest shipwreck, because I had to work so hard to find it, get trained to do it, and it's just fully intact. I mean, there's a photo I have where I look into one of the back cabins. I put my camera sideways through the door because it's so skinny, and you have table and chairs all in there. You got this grand room. I mean, it's freaking sweet.
That's cool. That's cool.
But other than that, like we talked earlier about the grain recovery that I was part of last fall on the James R. Bentley. That's something very special that's just not done in the Great Lakes, because everything's normally off limits. With this one, the Cliff Notes version is that the wreck is privately owned, and we didn't need a permit from the state of Michigan, which would probably never happen anyways. They want you to keep hands off, just let the shipwrecks rot into nothing on the bottom, never to be seen again. We partnered up with Mammoth Distillery from Traverse City, Michigan. They funded the grain recovery. And so we went out there, a team of us, the owner, Paul Ehorn, Ross Richardson, myself. We went to the wreck. I was the diver that went down into the cargo hold, took samples of this 1870-something rye, and brought it up because Mammoth Distillery wanted to re-engineer this, regrow it with the help of Michigan State University, and make whiskey out of it.
Yeah, I seen that you guys had built a specialty tool for pulling that rye out of there.
That was all Ross Richardson. He's a heck of an engineer and clever guy, and it just all worked quite well.
Very cool. Very cool. So what's one of the coolest things you've ever been able to bring to the surface from a shipwreck?
Other than the rye, because everything in the Great Lakes, because of the Shipwreck Antiquities Act that was like 1987, it makes everything off limits other than this privately owned shipwreck. I would say it's the footage that I get from these wrecks, because they are time capsules. They're sunken museums that most people would never get to see.
Yeah.
So obtaining that footage and bringing it up to the surface for the general public to view is, in my eyes, the best thing I've ever brought up.
It is very cool. It's timeless, and it's something, it's kind of like, I guess, so I started an endeavor of scanning photographs, right? Family ancestry stuff. I've literally scanned probably 2,500 photos. So put that stuff into. I mean, it's forever now, right? So
Yeah.
long after I'm gone, generations later, it'll be there, regardless of if the actual photos burn up or whatever, you know. So that type of thing
And
is very cool. Yeah.
so that's kind of along the same lines of what I'm doing. All these shipwrecks are breaking down. They're never going to be in any better shape than as they are now. You're documenting them, you're preserving them for all time in this digital format as they were to share with the world. You know, because eventually, with all the invasive quagga mussels, zebra mussels, the silt and sediment that collects on them, they're going to collapse and there'll be nothing but piles of rubble into the silt. And,
Right.
you know, that's what it is. So documenting these now so people can, you know, appreciate and learn from them, you know, long after I'm gone is kind of the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very cool. Do you know of anyone, or have you ever been involved with the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald?
Well, one of my good friends, Tom Farnquist, started the Whitefish Point Museum in Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So he had a lot of dealings with that, with the memorial bell, recovering the original bell. Um, the shipwreck is technically illegal to visit. It's in Canadian waters. So they say it's 17 miles off of Whitefish
Yep.
Point.
Whitefish
And
Point.
there's that border in the middle of Lake Superior there.
Right on the boundary there.
Yep, and it's just over the
It's
Canadian
just
border.
over that boundary then? Yeah. Okay.
Yep, and Canada says it's off limits to dive, ROV, side scan sonar operations. Basically, if you're caught on site, they say it's $1 million fine.
Wow.
So
Well, I guess it is essentially a graveyard is the way they consider it. So
it
I
is.
don't see anything wrong with filming it, though. I mean, I get not disturbing it, right? But I don't see why you shouldn't be able to film it. Or
Yeah, I don't get that either. I mean, it is a graveyard, but there's thousands of other shipwrecks in the Great Lakes that are also graveyards that people are diving on, being respectful. I mean, we're not down there digging through stuff, you
right,
know, we're seeing them and preserving them and enjoying the history as a recreation. I
yeah,
think the families, like, this is such a recent tragedy in the 70s that
yeah,
there's a lot of families still around. It's not like it's 1870, you know, we're talking 1970s. So it's relatively fresh, and I think people just they've done enough with it. They did the memorial bell, they did the
right.
ceremony. They do every year. They go out there and lay the reefs on it. I think the families just want it left alone.
Yeah, that's understandable, I guess. You know that, and that's a very intriguing shipwreck museum. I've been there several times, Whitefish Point. Um,
Yep, very well done.
I seen the bell that comes off I have pictures of it. It's fascinating, very fascinating. And some of the
Yeah,
older
right when you
shipwrecks,
walk in,
yeah,
it's just huge and it's bigger than I
shiny,
expected.
yeah, shining bronze or brass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the newt suit they use to dive to get it. That's amazing because it's what
Yeah, I think
500,
that's in the corner or
you know,
something.
it's like
Man,
530 feet deep that they had to go
yeah.
down to pull that
To
bell.
the bottom is like 535. That's a hell of a dive.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a long
You
ways down.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And two people actually open circuit scuba diving. Open circuit just means like regular scuba tanks and a regulator, not a rebreather. They dove this, I think, in the 90s and they went down and touched the railing, and they are
Really?
the only two people to ever dive it. This was before it was made illegal. I mean, most people would never dream of going that deep. That is insane. Even today, here in
Yeah,
the Great Lakes, that's insane.
that's what I was gonna say. So speaking of that, what is the deepest you can go in a dive like that? I mean, safely. Is that probably the max, you think? 500 feet?
No, well, oh, no. So rebreathers are a game changer. Basically, when we're breathing up here now, we breathe in, we breathe out. We've only used about 5% of the 21% oxygen in that breath.
Okay.
And if we're underwater doing that, breathe in, breathe out, well, how wasteful is that? When you're blowing a quarter of your oxygen out with every breath without utilizing it. So the premise of the rebreather is you breathe in, you breathe out through check valves, no bubbles. It's a check valve system, and you put it back through your scrubber, and the CO2 that you breathed out is now being processed through a scrubber media, and and then you breathe it right back through. You have 3 oxygen sensors in my unit, and there's analyzers. Once your set point of your oxygen level goes low, a little solenoid squirts in fresh O2, 100% O2 is squirting that in to bring that back up. So in these small little tanks, I've got 8 to 10 hours of air.
Wow.
If I'm efficient with it, if I'm not blowing bubbles out. So, there's people in another country diving in a cave over 800 feet deep.
Wow.
They actually have dual rebreathers. So in case one fails, their backup is the other one. I mean, that is insane.
That is way deep. Wow. Yeah.
And they're not even swimming, because you don't want to swim at depth, because you can overbreathe the unit and take a CO2 hit. So they actually have scooters, and they're just, hundreds of pounds of gear on them, and they're just being pulled through the dark caves.
Yeah, because you don't want to use up any more oxygen than you have to either, obviously, at that depth, right?
Well, the strange thing about a rebreather is your body only metabolizes about 1 liter a minute or something. So no matter how hard you work, you breathe the same amount and you burn the same amount.
Oh, okay.
It's a very good tool to have for exploration, especially deep diving.
I'm just curious about, so the pressure we spoke of earlier, you say, well, I think 33 feet is equal to an atmospheric pressure. So
yep.
At basically 300 feet, you're at 10 atmospheric pressures. So what can our body even withstand when you get down? You're like 800 feet. That's a lot of pressure, man. You got to be just feeling like your head's going to bust.
So we don't even feel it really, because here in the Great Lakes, it's so cold at depth, pretty much even in the height of summer at depth, anywhere below 160 feet. We're talking 39 to 42 degrees all year round.
Yep.
You get so cold that you don't stay down deep that long. We also have dry suits because of the cold. So as we're descending through the water, we have to continually add gas, which, either air or argon, to your dry suit, because it will physically crush you.
Oh, wow.
As you're going down. It gets uncomfortable.
Oh, I bet.
So, but you also have to equalize your ears, your eustachian tubes in here, by pinching your nose, gently blowing, like if you're on an airplane. Because now you're packing air into those eustachian tubes to keep them open as you go down. So it becomes a dance. When I leave the surface, I equalize. I'm adding gas to my counter lungs, which is my breathing reservoir, basically. Gas to my dry suit. I'm still dropping. Now I'm at 30 feet. Back to equalizing. Counter lungs, dry suit, all the way to the bottom.
Wow.
The flip side, now if you're coming up, that air wants to expand. And what do you think that's going to do? Rocket Man.
Right.
If you don't release it in a controlled fashion, the ears do themselves, but your counter lungs, your dry suit, you have to vent it slowly because of decompression. You have to come up slow in stages so you don't get the bends. If you just rode it to the surface as fast as it would take you, you would have the bends. You would maybe end up paralyzed. It might kill you, an embolism. It becomes a very serious thing.
No
So
doubt. That's craziness.
I'm not sure what the limit is on the body, but I mean, there's someone that dove, I think, 1,000 feet or over 1,000 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's like fighter pilots. Look, they experience 7, 8 Gs. They have these suits that inflate because your blood you'll black out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not the
Yep.
same, obviously, but the physical force, I guess, would be similar, the pressure. But so I seen on your website that you did a show with Gordon Ramsay.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
That was a heck of a surprise to get an email. And this just shows when you put something out on the internet, you never know who's going to see it. Now, of
Exactly.
course, Gordon didn't see it. He's busy. His media team was looking for a show. His show is called Uncharted, and they were going to do a Michigan episode. So they were looking for people to basically join in on the episode, and I was one of them that they asked if I would be interested. I took Gordon spearfishing and scuba diving. There was another one that took him woodcock hunting, mushroom foraging. He made jam with a monk. Now this was in the
Nice.
Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So yeah, that was a pretty fun episode to get to spend time with him, and he isn't as hard as you think he would be.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's for the show.
Yeah, Rich was with us earlier, and unfortunately I didn't record it, but he had asked you if he was, I think, quote unquote, the a-hole that he appears to be sometimes.
He's very high energy,
Yeah.
but I mean, he was stoked at what I was doing, the exploration, the diving, and he said someone needs to finance this, other than me. And I was like, sir. And he did contact National Geographic back in England and kind of pitched the thing about me and told them about me, but unfortunately they weren't interested in a diving show here in the Great Lakes. But
Gotcha.
you just never know.
Right. And then also, I had never heard of Kevin Dykstra from the show Curse of the Civil War.
Yep, Curse of Civil War Gold.
Civil War
Yeah.
Gold. Yep.
Kevin actually lives here in Muskegon, where I live. So
Okay.
Kevin's one of my best friends. He's a heck of a mentor to me. I put power into his new home because I'm a lineman, electrical lineman by trade. Quite a few years ago, I was there on a crew, and I had seen him. And when I got a break, I said, "You look familiar." And he just smiles. And during my lunch, I sat down with him in his barn, which on the show, that would be the war room where a lot of things were filmed. And I gave him my spiel, and little Dusty was tripping over his words and, telling him all of my scuba adventures. And I gave him a card, and I said, "Someday you might need me." And he ended up calling me. And him and I have become really good friends over the years. We've worked together out in Lake Michigan a few times. He helps me fabricate on the boats, like swim platforms or the positioning system. I helped him build a pole barn. Just a wonderful guy.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Um,
And
Yeah.
he did two seasons of that show. So he knows what it's like to be famous, to deal with the media, to deal with the negativity. And Kevin's really been a good mentor to me to kind of teach me how to navigate
yeah,
being in the public eye, dealing with, the haters, the people that aren't happy for you for
right.
succeeding. It's a weird community.
Well,
But
and I see it on a really tiny scale compared to obviously even you or some other people. But I know exactly what you're saying because even on a small scale, you deal with that because there's people they don't want. They think you may be successful or you may be popular. They don't want to see that. It's unfortunate. I mean, we can't all lift each other up, and that's why I appreciate you. We both, Rich and I, appreciate you coming on and taking your time to do this because obviously you're very busy with work and all your other stuff you do. And I
My
get
life is
it.
just chaos. Like every moment of my day is accounted for somehow, and I don't know how. I don't even have kids.
Right. Oh, your
So,
cats are cool though.
yeah, they sure
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I like building a team around the people I meet. I like building people up.
Yeah.
It's not a competition. We
No.
all do different things. And one of my favorite thing is meeting people and finding out what they do, because then I learn. It's
Yeah.
not possible for me to learn every single thing out there. So you rely on other people and you meet others and you build them up and you make a team. I think that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we come down south for the winter in Georgia, and we meet a lot of people, and it's a different world down here. In Southern hospitality is really a true thing. It's people are beautiful down here. I mean, and of course there's a-holes everywhere you go, no
Yeah.
matter. But for the most part, literally, they're just people are cool, and it's a different world. It's a different.
Yeah.
The terrain, everything's different. The driving, the traffic, everything's different because it's a different terrain. It's a different world.
I
But
was
it's
down in Virginia a couple months ago for the hurricane, and
yeah, yeah,
I helped out down there for a week or so. And the terrain, I just fell in love with the mountains in Virginia.
yeah.
The smoke in the morning. I want to take my Harley down there and just ride.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I love riding too, man. It's we do as much as we can, when money affords. We want to go down and drive around through Florida and stuff when we get time, but it's time and money, everything. So,
that's everything.
you know.
Basically, with shipwreck hunting, it takes time and it takes money.
So when do you I won't keep you much longer. I appreciate you coming back on the second time, man. You're a trooper. So
No worries.
when will you get back into diving, say, I mean, as far as the season goes, so when do you start and stop, say, basically, is there a certain time frame or?
I am more often than not, I'm the first person out on the lakes hunting in the spring or diving, and I'm generally the last person off the lakes.
So basically, early bird
I've
gets the
got
worm.
I got my own boats, and I can be anywhere at any time depending on who needs me. I have a couple different boats here, and my number one boat, my shipwreck hunting diving rig, I can be on the other side of the state. I can be in the UP, depending if someone finds something and they need me to film it, or I'm teaming up with someone. Uh, I can just be anywhere, but I try to be out as much as I can, just because we do have a relatively short season. For example, most people are done in the fall, the gales of November. My dad and I were out November 24th, out of Charlevoix, Michigan, out by Beaver Island. And we completed a multi-year goal of mine. We rediscovered two shipwrecks that hit each other. And they literally hit each other, sank 10 feet apart, a few hundred feet deep.
Wow.
I have been looking for them for about 3 different years. And on November 24th, after everyone's pretty much put to bed, we knocked them out.
Them gales in November, yeah.
You
I've read that the Great Lakes are worse than even the oceans when it comes to the gale and the November gales and the weather. Even
the
along
waves are so close and so sharp. It beats the heck out of you out there on a boat, because there's not the spacing like the ocean to roll up. You just
right.
slam here in the Great Lakes, and if that motor quits, now you're in this room. You know
Yeah,
what I
right.
mean?
No doubt. No
And
doubt.
there's not a lot of people out there in November or December to
Right.
give
No
you
doubt.
help.
No. So one other question. Do you ever do any diving in Lake Superior at all?
Yeah. So I mostly work Lake Michigan and Lake Huron, just because I live in Muskegon and West
Right.
Michigan. And I mean, it's far to go to Lake Superior.
Right.
However, occasionally I do get up there. The beauty of Lake Superior is that there's none of the invasive quagga mussels that
Oh,
literally engulf the shipwrecks. So You will see names on the ships. You will see paint, dishes, just artifacts from the ship, and you can actually see what it is, like a fire extinguisher or a boot laying in the dirt. You know,
Oh, yeah.
where
I just seen
like,
that picture today. I was looking on your website. Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
and like the other Great Lakes, you don't get that because the mussels cover literally everything, and even a ship's wheel is comically large. It looks like the cereal honeycomb.
Yeah,
Or yeah, so it almost looks like that, very fat because everything is just encrusted. The
yeah.
anchors, look just comical. And unfortunately, we get the water clarity in the Lake Michigan, the Lake Huron, but we can't see the detail. Now in Lake Superior, it doesn't have the clarity because there's more sediment, because there's no invasive mussels filtering, but you get the details.
Right. Well, have you ever done the Pictured Rocks tour up on Lake Superior?
Yes, I brought
Man,
my own. I brought my own boat actually and did my own
did you?
tour.
That's
Oh
very cool.
man!
Man,
And
that's amazing, isn't it?
under the water is an entire different world. I mean, there's rock ledges and the color of the sandstone,
Yeah.
uh, big boulders, things carved out by the currents. It's incredible.
And a lot of them captains, there's a certain captain, because I've done it several times. I just, it's very intriguing to me. And the waters are beautiful. It's summertime is beautiful up there, but there's a couple of places where they'll stop and they'll tell you about a shipwreck from like 18 something where they got froze by the edge, and I think half of them died or something. I forget the name of even the ship, but there's a lot of history that goes with these little tours too. It's very cool.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know.
There's a really good business up there. Um, Joe Lindquist, I think, is the owner of the Glass Bottom Boat Tour there.
Okay.
And I actually went out with him prior to filming with Gordon Ramsay. They booked the big boat, and Joe took me out to scout basically for the episode. I was supposed to spear burbot, and we had to make sure there was burbot, which is like a bottom dwelling fish. It's poor man's lobster. We had to make sure there was burbot on these wrecks prior to bringing the film crew out. So they booked with Joe, and just Joe and I went out, and he's a cool guy.
Oh, very cool.
Nice operation there.
Very cool. Well, all right, Dusty, listen, man, I actually have it recorded this time, so I appreciate you coming back, man, because I didn't want to have to wait a couple more weeks. I was excited to do this interview with you.
Well, it's an honor for you to have me back for a second time.
Very
I
cool.
love
Well,
it.
the first one was just practice, man. Sorry,
Heck yeah.
Rich had to miss out on it, but we'll probably do a little closing in the end. He had to get out because of the weather, and he's got a bunch of critters he's got to take care of and stuff. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, cool, man. Thanks. It's great talking to you, and we'll catch up again soon.
we will be safe out there, man. And you're working in the journeyman stuff and in that frigid cold, man. Woo. We'll be
Yeah,
in touch, Dusty, and appreciate
yeah,
it. Thanks again.
it's 10 degrees here now, so I'm gonna load wood in the stove and get ready for bed.
Absolutely, man. Have a good night. Thanks again,
All
man.
right, you too. See ya.
See ya.